Friends, welcome. Wednesday, yet again. How quickly are these weeks rolling round? Can't believe that we're going to be beginning the Advent journey next Sunday. Where has the time gone? And what a year! An unprecedented year that we have been and are living through. Heck of a journey. And we're thinking about journeys, and that metaphor of a journey is so well known and well used as an image of a journey of faith, of what faith is like, that it's a journey. But journeys can remind us about different levels of journeying that we do. The physical journey that we do from place to place, the chronological journey that we do from time to time, as well as that spiritual journey that we do, ebbing and flowing nearer and further away and nearer to God. Lots of stories in Scripture about the journeys that people made, all those physical journeys from place to place, the journeys through their lives, as well as the journeys that they made in faith. And I thought over the next few weeks we could journey together, but journey alongside one of the greats of the Old Testament, and that's Moses. I thought we could spend some time with him and share his journey from birth and see what we can learn from his story to apply to our own, and where the connections are that we can make between him and us. Let me just set the story. I guess most of us will be familiar with this, but let's set the story anyway. And I'm reading from the book of Exodus, and the story's laid out in chapter 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel who went to Egypt with Jacob, each with his family: Reuben and Simeon, Levi and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad and Asher. The descendants of Jacob numbered 70 in all, and Joseph was already there in Egypt. And Joseph and all his brothers and all that generation died, but the Israelites were exceedingly fruitful. They multiplied greatly, increased in numbers, and became so numerous that they filled the land. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. And look, he said to the people, these Israelites have come far too numerous for us. We must deal with them shrewdly, or they'll become even more numerous, and if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labour. And they built Pithom and Ramesses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with harsh labour in brick and mortar, and with all kinds of work in the fields. In all their harsh labour, the Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. And the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when you're helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him, but if it's a girl, let her live. And the midwives feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live And the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let these boys live?" And the midwives answered, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They're vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive." So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all the people: "Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live." It sets the scene there, doesn't it? And I wonder if we can imagine what that must have been like for those Hebrew people, firstly living in slavery, being oppressed, and then in what should be really the most beautiful and intimate of time, being giving birth, and then to have that sentence really placed over them. I just wonder what that anguish must have been like for all of those women that lost children through no fault of their own. What that might have been like. Let's hear about one such family, though, that evade that situation. This is reading in Exodus 2. Now, a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman. She became pregnant, gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she couldn't hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him, coated it in tar and pitch, and she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. Her sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket amongst the rushes and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying. She felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she cried. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water." What a way to evade that, what was effectively a death sentence. I guess there are times in history, other times in history when people have had to make similar gut-wrenching decisions. I think particularly about the war time, particularly the Second World War, and all of those children that were hidden and sent to live out in countrysides and so on, particularly those of Jewish faith. What might that have been like? What's it like for Moses? What's it like for him growing up in a palace with effectively what is an adopted mother, living in a culture that's not his own, but he grows up to know it, not necessarily as his own, but it's the culture that he grows up in. And his God, the God of his forefathers, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, his own God, isn't necessarily someone that he's close to, even aware of. Often wonder if he was aware fully of his own background and culture. What's that mean for us as travellers together, as followers of the way, as disciples of Jesus? Are there times in our lives when we have distance between ourselves and God, sometimes through no fault of our own, sometimes through our own wanderings and our own decisions? Some people, that growing up in a culture and amongst a faith that's very different to their own is a reality. And I think about all that tension that there must be, knowing that where you live and who you live amongst and the way in which you live is not really yours and goes against the grain. I wonder what that's like. But we could perhaps pause for a moment now as we think about some of those themes of loss and of nurture, and the way in which our walk with God has perhaps been a little bit like the young Moses, seemingly distant and alien. Let's just pause for a moment as we think. Friends, I'm going to read on for us a little bit further. This is reading from verse 11 in chapter 2. This is Moses, somewhat more grown up now. So one day after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were, and he watched them at their hard labours. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that, and seeing no one, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid him. The next day he went out and he saw two Hebrews fighting. And he asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of ruling me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "What I did must have become known." Let's just pause and think about that next bit of the journey. Here we have Moses in some way connecting with the Hebrew people. It says there twice in that first or second chapter, verse rather, that he saw his own people. Is he by this time aware of his own roots. And yet, is he accepted by his own people? We're not quite sure. Certainly, there's something that he's done now, which he's got to worry about, as he's killed this Egyptian soldier. And he's in a dilemma now, Moses. It's got out, or apparently got out, what he's done. What's he going to do? Is he going to wait and see what fate holds for him? Is he going to wait and hope that the cat doesn't get let out of the bag? Is he going to take to his heels and run away? And suddenly he's got to worry about what other people know of him and think of him. I thought we could just pause again and think for a moment about our own dilemmas like that, the things in our own lives that we know other people know about us, and that worry us and shame us and make us want to run away. Let's think for a moment, shall we, just about those things that we might carry, long-seated, deep-seated things that we know maybe other people know about us, and we worry or we wonder whether they've forgotten, whether they've forgiven, whether it's harboured away. And what does that do for our relationships and the way we feel about ourselves and the way we feel that others might feel about us, whether that's an accurate portrayal or not? Let's just pause again. So friends, let me read on a little bit further. This is reading from verse 15. This is to the end of the chapter. When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled, and he went to live in Midian, where he sat down at a well. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up, came to their rescue, and watered their flock. So when the girls returned, their father asked them, "Why have you returned so early today?" And they said, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds, and he even drew water for us to water the flock." "And where is he?" Reuel asked his daughters. "Why did you leave him? Invite him to come and have something to eat." So Moses agreed to stay with the man, who gave his daughter Zipporah in marriage. And Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, "I've become a foreigner in a foreign land." And during that period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So he looked over the Israelites, and he was concerned about them. Moses moves on now. He has indeed flown and run away. Very real action that I could see myself doing quite easily. It's quite easy, that fight or flight. It's just natural to run away from things that we fear, even if it's things that we know we perhaps have to face up to. And you could read it and think, yeah, he's getting somewhere now. Suddenly he's got a family, he's got a wife, he's got a father-in-law, he's got a child, and soon we're going to find out that he's got a job helping to look after the family's flock. But for all of that, he's still an alien in a foreign land. He may have a newfound family, but his roots and his people are in a land far away. And I wonder if that can feel like part of our journey of faith. Are the times when we've run away from God because of things that we've done, and we know that he knows what we've done, and shame and embarrassment can drive us away from God. What about being cut off from our roots? What does that feel like? Do we sometimes feel like that in our walk with God? Do we feel that there are times when we would rather, when we feel our roots are cut off, that God seems distant for whatever reason, and not part of our story? Maybe we can pause for a moment and just think about those times when that might have been a reality for us, and when we've had to worry about what God thinks, knows of us at least, and what we think God thinks of us. Let's just pause again for a moment. So friends, thanks for joining us this evening. Hope you've found this a helpful time to just carve out to think about that image of journey, and the ways in which our life and the life of Moses can be so intertwined. So pray a good night's rest for you. And just one note to say that as we're not able to open for public worship, we're going to be open for prayer, and this coming Sunday, All Saints, is going to be open between 10:30 and 12 for private prayer. You'd be very welcome to join us there at All Saints, the parish church. So until we meet, take care and God bless you. Bye for now.